Hi. So it's been a few weeks since I released my book, and I wanted to just go over something real quick that hit me really hard on the way home today. And that is about coming clean with yourself. And I did that in my book. And there were some pieces of me that I didn't want to share with the world, or with anyone who was reading it for that matter. And I did it anyway because I feel it's so important that we are truthful with ourselves, because there are so many people who can be inspired by that. And I mean, we look at people and think they have these amazing, perfect lives, and a lot of them are hurting. And you being truthful gives them the opportunity to be truthful, gives them the courage. You're sharing that courage. And it takes a lot of courage, brings up a lot of stuff. And the more stuff you bring up, the more that comes out, and the more you can get rid of. But when I started my journey, I just didn't realize I was going there. I used to look at people and be envious and jealous and think, wow, they have such a perfect life. Like, how did I get stuck with this? And then going through those experiences that I needed to go through humbled me and made me grateful for my life, and made me realize that I chose everything in my life, and that I kept choosing the same things, and I kept living the same things over and over again because I was choosing them. I didn't think I deserved any better. I thought everyone else did but me. So I just wanted better. And so when you want better, I've said this before a million times, but things will fall apart to push you there if you're not going to go there yourself. And that's what happened with me. And like I said, it was hard, painful, but beautiful at the same time. So I felt like, now looking back, when everything fell apart, it was all coming together perfectly, better than how I could even have thought. And I, went through some crappy times to get there. I lived in my sister's basement for a year, and I mean, grateful to her for putting up with me, because I was not a force to be reckoned with at the time, because I felt like everything in my life was just getting worse and worse. And in my eyes at the time, it was. So I lived in her basement for a year. I failed at real estate, or should I say I sucked at real estate. So I didn't make any money there. My cookie dough shop didn't make enough money to cover the overhead, so that went under. And I hated telling people this because I was so embarrassed about it, but I sold cars for 3 months. I think I probably sold 3 cars in 3 months, but I was so embarrassed that I had to resort to selling cars and working 6 days a week, or and those long hours and those winter conditions, and making $2,000 a month, which I can't remember the last time I made $2,000 a month before that. So those were all very humbling experiences. And I had all this experience in my career, and I could take that somewhere and make great money and continue to do what I knew. But nobody offered me a job. Nobody was hiring me. The only person that hired me was the car dealership. And so in order to feed my children and keep a roof over their heads, and I was on my own at this time, I had to take that job. And that was so humbling, like to be in this environment that I'd never been in before. And it's very different. It's not ideal. It's a little harsh. It's a little rough. A lot of unhappy people work in the car business, including me. I was right there with them. So needless to say, after I just accepted that I was flipping selling cars for a living and that I failed it. And I say failed, it's not really failure, it's just redirection. But I couldn't sell real estate. I couldn't keep my dough shop afloat. I had a million failed relationships. I just needed all of that to keep humbling me until I finally was like there and I was like, okay, I'm here. I'm doing this. And that's okay. And as soon as I did that is when everything changed. But I didn't like myself. I couldn't stand myself. I was depressed. I had high anxiety. I didn't like waking up in the morning. I was ungrateful. I was miserable. And that's okay. I'm so glad that I went through that. I'm so glad I was miserable. But I'm telling you this today because I want to inspire you if you are feeling like you can't share your story. Someone out there is going to relate to you and someone's going to thank you. And someone's looking at you right now thinking that you have had the perfect life and that you have the perfect life. And when you come clean, you feel free. Like you feel free because you're being truthful with yourself. And that is the most important person for you to be truthful with, is you. When you live this facade of perfectness, we know it's not true. After all the work I've done on myself, I had a couple episodes this week of really high anxiety. And I was like, what is this? Like I've done all this work. Why am I feeling this way? And that's when you have to revert back to what you know. And what you know is you need to feel it. And so I just felt it for 2 days for, total of probably 2 hours approximately. But I just felt it and let it be there. And I also realized too that when I'm having those times, which I wrote this in my book, but it's funny because you write something and then if you're not practicing it, you forget. So it was awesome that I had this experience because I was able to remember, hey, I had anxiety. I suffered from anxiety. I had it again and I hated it. And so as soon as I was just like, okay, feel it, let it pass. And it did. I was okay. But those are the moments that I call the valleys. Like they're the low points. And I've been on this high point and that's great. But they both even each other out. So having that low point, maybe when you feel good, your low points are way worse than when you felt bad. When I felt bad, having anxiety was normal. It was just part of my everyday life. Now that I feel good, having anxiety is like torture. So it reminded me that I just need to accept whatever feelings surface, and they're coming up for a reason, and I learn from them. So as soon as they lift, it's like there's another layer of me that just left, and I am so like even more energized than I was before I had that. So welcome your feelings, and coming clean and being truthful is going to cause a lot of feelings to come up, and you just have to welcome them and be in them. And it's uncomfortable and it hurts, but there's no growth in comfort. So that's why we numb ourselves a lot so we don't feel things, and that's comfortable, but it's really detrimental to our growth. So pushing your feelings down is the same as numbing them. So let them surface, feel them, be in pain, be uncomfortable, because once they leave you, you're going to feel lighter and feel better. So I just wanted to get this out there to inspire everyone to become clean and be truthful. And if you are clean and truthful already, awesome. Welcome to the club. But you'd be surprised that we can call it dirty laundry, is so relative to other people's dirty laundry. And so many people go through and suffer the same things. And if we could just come together and love each other for it and support each other, what a different world we would live in. And if you're worried about people judging you, if they're judging you, it's because they can't come clean themselves. They probably have deeper issues than you do, and they can't come clean about them. So let them judge you. They're triggered. They're going to learn eventually. So that's their journey. Just love them for that, because you've probably been there. I've been there. Still there sometimes. So anyway, have a fabulous night.